What is wrong with this team? Everything. I don't know what is wrong. Like, it's just never easy, is it?
Imagine being handed the key to a brand new Ferrari, shining red, built for speed, and instead of letting it roar down an open highway, you take it through bumper-to-bumper traffic. In a school zone, that's exactly what's happening in Indiana. Caitlin Clark, the most talked about player in modern women's basketball, isn't just being misused. She's being strategically shackled, and the person calling that out is none other than Lin Dunn, the legendary former GM, the architect of the Fever's only championship, and the woman who built her career on spotting greatness. But Lin didn't just call Stephanie White out behind closed doors. She did it publicly with one sharp, perfectly timed message that cracked the Indiana Fever organization wide open. This isn't just a coaching critique. This is a franchise identity crisis. And today, we're pulling back the curtain on how it's threatening to waste the most marketable, gifted, culture-shifting rookie the league has ever seen. So buckle up. Because this story isn't about basketball. It's about control, ego, and a generational star trapped in a system too small for her. From the moment Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA draft, she didn't just carry a basketball resume, she carried hope. Hope for viewership, hope for ticket sales, hope for national headlines. But more than anything, hope that a franchise would finally rise from the ashes and become a dynasty again. That franchise, the Indiana Fever. They had every reason to believe they were about to flip the script. After years of irrelevance and rebuilding, they finally had a true franchise player. They also brought in experienced veterans like Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham,
Like Lin Dunn posting, and this is again the former like GM of the Fever, who's now something to do with the Fever. I don't know what her role is. She goes, don't expect the players to do it if you don't drill it.
and Sydney Colson, leaders who had seen the postseason and were ready to stabilize the locker room. On paper, it was beautiful. On the court, chaos. The very first few games of the season weren't just rough, they were confusing. Clark was being taken out of plays, the ball was being pulled from her hands. The pace slowed, the floor spacing vanished, and the most electric player in women's basketball was being told to pass sideways. Why? Because of one thing, the motion offense. Stephanie White brought it from her previous role at the Connecticut's, in a system built on movement, discipline, repetition. It works well with teams that need structure. But Clark isn't a structure player. She's jazz, not a classical symphony. She needs freedom to create, to bend the game to her will. But instead of adapting to her, White insisted Clark adapt to the system. And that's when the fractures began. Let's pause and talk about Lin Dunn. She's not just a respected voice in basketball, she's Indiana royalty. She knows what championship teams look like because she built one. So when she saw what was happening to Caitlin Clark, she didn't stay silent. In a post that seemed casual on the surface but burned like a spotlight in context, Dunn said, "Don't expect the players to do it if you don't drill it." Simple, subtle, devastating. That wasn't just a stray remark. That was a loaded missile pointed at the very heart of Stephanie White's coaching. Because Dunn knew something the fans were only beginning to sense: this team wasn't just underperforming, it was unraveling from within. And her timing, brutal. It came immediately after another embarrassing loss, a game where the Fever had 0 fast break points. 0. How does a team with Caitlin Clark, arguably the best transition passer and shooter of the last decade, not score a single point on the break? The answer: they weren't trying. The system, by design,
Like, they were embarrassingly bad without Caitlin Clark. They were just embarrassingly bad. And I mean this. A good coach will figure something out. A good coach will figure something out. Does this team play defense? No. No. I mean this team doesn't play defense. They've just gotten lucky. Teams miss shots. They've gotten lucky, teams miss shots. They don't play defense. They still don't play defense. I know they held the Mystics to 83 points. This was a Mystics team who were not shooting well. They don't play defense. They don't defensive rebound. They don't put in any effort. And that's on coach. That is on the coach.
Slows the game down. Every possession becomes a grind, a pattern, a sequence, and when Clark tried to break free, she was reeled back in. The fans could feel it. The analysts could see it. And Lin Dunn, with her sharp coaching eye, couldn't take it anymore. She didn't just throw shade, she sparked a wildfire. The core problem was bigger than bad basketball. It was philosophical. Do you force your system on your players? Or do you build a system around your players? That's the question every great coach eventually answers. The good ones adapt, the great ones evolve. But the stubborn ones, they cling and drag everyone down with them. That's where Stephanie White finds herself now accused of dragging the team and Caitlin Clark into a slow-motion collapse because of her refusal to pivot. And it's not just an opinion, it's in the data. When Clark is on the floor, the Fever's offense looks alive, the numbers jump, the pace quickens, the spacing improves. But take her off the court, or worse, reduce her role to an off-ball go stand, it's like watching a machine shut down. You can feel the gears grinding, you can hear the crowd getting quiet, you can see the light dim in Clark's eyes, and all the while, a storm brews on social media because the fans aren't just watching. They're keeping receipts, they remember Clark's style at Iowa, how she controlled every possession, saw passes to seconds before they opened, pulled up from 35 feet without hesitation. They remember the joy, the dominance, the flow, and now they're watching her stand in the corner, waiting for the ball to come back to her. That's not just a misuse of talent, it's strategic malpractice. But then it happened. One game, one moment, a flash of what could be. Against the New York Liberty, with the Fever trailing and time running out, something shifted. Clark got the green light, the offense loosened, the system bent, and she exploded. Pull-up threes, cross-court lasers, transition buckets. The arena came alive, viewership spiked, and for the first time, everyone could see what Indiana looked like when they simply let Caitlin cook. It was glorious. It was undeniable, and it made every other game, the ones where she was silenced, all the more infuriating. When you build a house on a shaky foundation, you can ignore the cracks for a little while, maybe paint over them, patch them up with a press conference, but eventually those cracks widen, they become fault lines, and then everything collapses. That's exactly what started happening in Indiana. It wasn't just about the losses piling up, it was how they were losing, repeatedly, predictably, and with a kind of lifelessness that screamed one thing: dysfunction. The motion offense, which demands precision, patience, and synchronized movement, relies on everyone executing flawlessly. And when even one part of that choreography fails, the whole machine jams, and that's what viewers saw night after night. Instead of dynamic offensive sets built around the best passer and shooter on the court, fans watched Caitlin Clark dribble into scripted traps, pass to the wings, and then stand still, waiting, watching. It was like watching Beethoven told to play scales. Then came the clearest warning sign. Dana Bonner left the team. No injury, no scandal, no contract dispute, just gone. And the rumors started swirling. Inside sources claimed Bonner wasn't hurt, she was frustrated. She felt boxed in by a system that didn't let her play to her strengths. A rigid offense that couldn't adapt, couldn't evolve, couldn't absorb different types of talent. Sound familiar? That was the breaking point for many fans, because it was no longer just about Caitlin Clark being underused. It was about a pattern, talented players walking, games slipping, a system showing its age and its limits. And that's when the anger turned to fear, because if a respected veteran like Bonner felt suffocated, what about Clark? Would she be next? Stephanie White became the center of a firestorm. Every game, every substitution, every slow, plotting possession that ended in a contested mid-range brick only poured gasoline on the fire. And the fans? They didn't hold back. Why is Caitlin standing in the corner? 0 fast break points. Are you serious? This offense looks like it was drawn on a napkin in 2007. Social media turned savage. But what made the criticism powerful wasn't the noise, it was the knowledge behind it. These weren't casual fans complaining for clicks. These were loyal Fever supporters, college basketball diehards, WNBA lifers who had followed Clark's journey from Iowa to Indy. And they knew one thing: this wasn't how her story was supposed to go. Let's talk numbers, because they don't lie. When Clark is on the floor, Indiana's offense has a rating of 107.5. That's competitive, respectable, playoff worthy. But the moment she steps off, that number craters, falls off a cliff. 80.2. That's not just bad, that's historically bad. We're talking worst in the league levels of dysfunction. And that's not even the most damning part. In one game, the Fever posted 0 fast break points. How is that possible with Clark, one of the fastest decision makers in the league? Because they're not trying to run, because the system won't let them. Every time a rebound is grabbed, instead of pushing the pace, the ball gets pulled back. Set plays are called, screens are set, the gears of the motion machine start grinding away. By the time Clark gets a touch, the defense is set. The magic is gone. The moment is wasted. It's basketball by bureaucracy. Lin Dunn knows great greatness when she sees it. She coached to make a catchings, she won a title. She understands what it takes to mold a championship team, and when she speaks out, you listen. Her post wasn't long. It wasn't angry, but it was explosive. Don't expect the players to do it if you don't drill it.
Ceiling by becoming a first-team All-WNBA player in year 1. You don't rein her in, you unleash her.
But the Fever got rid of her, and the Fever got rid of her coach. They got rid of her, and they got rid of her coach. They got rid of exactly what she wanted to do. And you know what? I hate saying this. Lin Dunn was probably right when she said it should be a 5-year plan to improve. That the plan to improve should be a 5-year thing.
That's more than a coaching critique. It's a philosophical indictment. It means don't blame execution when the problem is preparation. Don't blame the players when the system is broken, and don't waste a once-in-a-generation talent by pretending the problem is anything but your own playbook. Dunn didn't just post out of frustration, she posted out of fear. Fear that history was about to repeat itself, not in triumph, but in tragedy, because stars like Caitlin Clark don't come around often, and when they do, you don't box them in. You don't slow them down. At this point, it's not just about basketball, it's about belief, about identity, about whether the Indiana Fever are a team willing to evolve or one destined to repeat its own mistakes. Stephanie White insists on running a motion offense, a system built for balance, equality, predictability, but Caitlin Clark was never meant to be predictable. She was meant to be exceptional. And the irony? We've seen what happens when they let her go. In that fourth quarter against the Liberty. When White finally pulled the leash off, Clark turned the game inside out. She scored, she dished, she controlled. The entire team looked transformed. Then, it was gone. The next game, back to the motion, back to the stagnation, back to the silence. And the fans? They're not just frustrated. They're heartbroken. They see it. The world sees it. Even rival coaches and G-Miz are watching. Because here's the truth. If Indiana doesn't pivot, if they continue to box in the brightest star the league has seen in years, someone else will take that opportunity. Because this isn't just about one season. This is about Caitlin Clark's prime, her legacy, her impact on the league. You don't try to fit her into your system, you build the system around her. And right now, the Fever are at a crossroads. One path leads to transformation, to embracing her game and creating a dynasty. The other, to watching the league's most promising star fade behind a wall of stubbornness, missed chances, and outdated playbooks. Lin Dunn saw it coming. The fans feel it happening, and now the clock is ticking. So, what would you do? Stick with Stephanie White's system, or tear it down and build something worthy of Caitlin Clark's greatness? Let us know in the comments. And if you found this deep dive compelling, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that next video, because trust me, this story, it's far from over.